I'm Glenn McGinnis, and this is Outburst. On the program, with luring foreign grocery companies to Canada, increase competition and lower food prices.
I think so, yeah. Competition is always a great way to lower prices.
I think part of the solution is stop food waste.
I would say it would help.
I hope so. Let's try it.
But first, according to the federal government, 2 in 3 adults and 1 in 3 children and youth in Canada are overweight and suffer from obesity. Left unchecked, obesity could trigger such ailments as diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and cancer. And with all ailments aside, the stigma that goes along with it could prove to be quite difficult. With about 1 billion obesity cases worldwide, it's obvious that this problem is not just in Canada. So we took to the streets to see what could be done to bring down the numbers in this country. Our question:
what can be done to reduce the rates of obesity in Canada?
Well, the first thing the government can do is give tax deductions to all those that join gym membership. That's the first thing they should do. And I mean, that is such common sense, because then that relieves some of the pressure on the healthcare system, right? You know, again, it's like the responsibility of the individuals to be educated, know what to eat and how much to eat. You know, and that's not government's business, but what's government's business is to look after its people. And looking after its people by encouraging good incentive for people, like the example of gyms, to keep people fit and trim.
We don't talk about insulin resistance. We don't even check for it. We don't do blood tests for it, maybe because we think it's too expensive. But in the next 10 years, we are going to find the folly of our ways when insulin resistance is shown in diabetes, in the young, in the old, and costing us a fortune.
I would say definitely just promoting healthier eating, definitely more whole foods, fruits and vegetables, maybe lowering the cost of those kind of foods.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too.
Well,
yeah, I'd say lowering the cost would help, because at least for me, like being students, we don't have a lot of money, and it's hard. We don't really have the finances to be spending money on organic food and healthy food, so sometimes you just end up eating not healthy, which would lead to obesity.
Strengthen the old 1970s participation commercials to encourage physical activity daily by making it fun, by making commercials like that.
More exercise programs, encouraging people to walk and ride their bicycles, and cut out the crap food, you know?
Well, we promote too much junk food, bottom line, and too much sugar. Like even now, we bought a drink in the museum over there, and it's just, we got a sugar content in one drink in our whole day. And that's, people should be more educated on the calories of what we consume. And it's very simple. We just don't have to have it out there and make it more expensive.
Well, get children more involved athletically. For one thing, they need to be gym and sports, etc. is crucial. Getting them away from these silly cell phones, crucial. Getting them away from email, crucial. Get them into sports, get them into games, get them into team activities.
Implementing some sort of incentive for people to have organic businesses, you know, like restaurants that aren't just cheeseburgers and fries and things like that. Maybe giving people the opportunities to have places to go to be active, you know, like. But I don't know how that happens.
But yeah, not just necessarily promote a certain type of exercise, just like what makes you move and that you like, I think. Because personally, I hate running just for running, but I love like sports with teams, you know, just like basketball and stuff. So in school, it can be a good start, but yeah.
More control over what's in the food, especially processed food. I think processed food should be banned in a way because it is cheating the people.
So what we have to do is make the actual life that the average person lives have affordable access to high quality food. People can choose what they want, but sometimes it's too expensive. And secondly, a lot of the obesity is in areas of Canada where there is not good food. So if you live in Sioux Lookout, Ontario, or if you live somewhere there, the food is extremely expensive and it is not high quality food. And often people in those situations actually have high obesity.
Oh, again, I'll stick with the physical exercise. We'll go with the low friendly answer of better school lunches options. Apart from that, let me tell you, exercise, exercise, exercise. It's good for you.
I'm a farmer, so I produce food. So I like repeat customers. I guess eat healthy, exercise, two most important things I can think of.
Better packaging. I've seen in Mexico that they have these big X's on packages to say excess sugar, excess sodium, etc. Just informing people would be a start, because I think obesity, first of all, is just eating too much sugar, too much orange juice, too many soft drinks. That's a start.
Okay, anything to add?
Yeah, same thing. The amount of sugar that we have and everything that's manufactured or processed is just astronomical. I don't see why you need sugar in ham, for example. So if we had better labeling, maybe people would realize what they're eating, and that would help.
Education on food, education on health. Yes.
Like what types of education? Can you be more specific?
Starting in the school system. Yeah, from very young age all the way up, we should be feeding them healthy snacks and teaching them about what matters most.
Well, just to lead an active lifestyle, yeah. Make sure that you nourish your body properly, that you drink enough of water. Yeah, eat healthy food, walk.
What you eat determines how much you eat. It's not about self-control, it's not about willpower, it's about making the right choices that satisfy you. Anyway, that's it.
Over the last few years, AI technology has been the go-to tool for those looking to refine the work they do. It can be used for things like facial recognition technology, healthcare, gaming, and event planning. The list goes on. As part of CPAC's upcoming project examining disinformation and democracy both here in Canada and around the world, we asked people in what areas they're using AI and why. Our question:
do you use AI technology, and what for?
Yeah, I use ChatGPT almost every day for... I don't Google things anymore, I use ChatGPT. Yeah, indeed I do, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I use AI in everyday life. Like I use AI on call for my studies, for video call as well, to play games, like I'm surrounded by AI. If there is no AI, I cannot leave. Simple as that.
Yeah, I use it for like homework, school and everything. It helps a lot.
Of course, everyone use AI technology. I use ChatGPT, of course, Gemini. For most, I use ChatGPT day by day. For what? For my assignments, for the question regarding resume, cover letter, anything.
I'm an executive director of a nonprofit, so we have a lot of things we do with AI in trying to enhance our services, in trying to present ourselves properly to the public. There are a lot of things, especially our training videos, they are also awesome with AI. Yeah, AI is a very good thing. It's where to go to.
Not really, no. I still believe that the human brain should be used.
Correcting my grammar. Yeah.
No, I live in a barnyard. Here's my technology. Flip phone.
No, I don't. I've experimented with it a bit, but I've not actually implemented it.
Okay. How have you experimented?
I teach at Carleton University, so it's a big question, how do we implement AI? So what I've done just for fun is, for example, I've gone on to one of the, I forget which one, but asked, write me an essay on this, that, or the other thing, just to see what it spits out. Because that's an issue in education. It's how do you detect, first of all, that it's been generated by AI, and now that this is here, how do we use it? do we just try to ban it, or do we try to find some way to actually implement it in the curriculum? But beyond that, I haven't been involved with it.
Oh yeah.
For what?
Homework. Only when it's allowed. Only when it's allowed. Only when it's allowed. But yeah, we use it for homework, do it for projects. Just facilitates the search, filters everything. I'm not telling you it's 100% right, because my homework would beg to differ sometimes. But yeah, I use it for school mostly.
I just like to explore to see like how it operates, how it works. Although I don't use it for school. I write stuff by hand for school.
But what, do you use it for anything besides exploring?
No, not really. I just like to see how it works and stuff.
Okay, what about you, sir?
I like to use ChatGPT for just creative ideas for like gaming and role-playing and things like that.
Well, I actually think that term is nonsensical. There's no such thing as artificial intelligence. All AI tools out there are not intelligent at all. But if you're referring to things like ChatGPT and so forth, I've toyed around for a few minutes. It's absolute garbage. The so-called art is not art. It's disgusting. It's just this pathetic aggregation of other people's creativity. So no, I don't really use it. I don't have much information in terms of a frame of reference or experience to remark meaningfully on that, aside from my rejection of that term.
Well, you know, creative ways to use it. It's like, let's say, I wanted to plan my trip to Montreal. So I asked AI, like, what should I, you know, how should I plan my trip? And they asked me what kind of person I am and what I would like to do there. And then they gave me like a detailed plan. So, yeah.
I find that I do use a lot of AI technology for research, primarily because it can be a lot more credible than other sources which you can find in different places. Like, for example, ChatGPT, I think their data and research right now is only limited up till 12, but up until 2012. But up until that point, they do use very credible research, and it's hard to find news sources online and articles which are credible and which you can really rely on. So AI mainly I find is very unbiased and really just gets straight to the point.
I guess yes, online gaming I use a little bit of it, you know, like video games or whatever. We do play a little online poker. As far as like actually, does my Roomba count? Right? But other than that, that's pretty well limited, right?
I do not use AI technology.
Nor do I, and increasingly everything is so much more online, and so often we're prey to scamming, etc. We don't know what's real anymore, so I don't use it. In fact, I don't even really know how to use it.
I do use AI, not so much. I use it a little bit in school, mainly for when I'm struggling to like, I'm like, oh, I can't remember how I'm supposed to structure like this paragraph that I'm writing, or I need just tips on like how to like start writing my paper, like, or something like that. Like, or like I need a title for my paper. I can't be creative right now. I just need something quick. And so I'll just type something in like that, and then it honestly is really helpful because like I'll know what I have to do, but I just kind of forget, and then it structures everything very clearly for me, and I'm like, oh yeah, of course, and stuff like that. So yeah.
I do use AI technology.
Yeah.
I use it a lot, like in my schoolwork. I'd say not to make my assignments, but use it to help me study. It's really good for asking questions and learning about more in depth of maybe like a subject, and to grammar check and to understand where I could use. Like for instance, I put in a sentence a lot and say, did I use this semicolon correctly? And it tells me whether I did or not, and I feel like it's really helpful. Otherwise, I have no idea.
Which Canadian Prime Minister is credited for negotiating the Canada-U.S. Free Trade Agreement? Pierre Trudeau, Brian Mulroney, Jean Chrétien.
Brian Mulroney.
Pierre Trudeau?
Trudeau. Please tell me it's Trudeau.
Azu Chrétien. Is it him?
Chrétien. Trudeau. Chrétien.
Trudeau. Mulroney.
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 Brian Mulroney.
You can high-five each other now.
Okay.
You got it right.
I knew that.
We're old enough to know that answer.
Not me. The Canada-US Free Trade Agreement began negotiations in May of 1986, and a deal was reached the following year, in October of 1987. In his first term as Prime Minister, Brian Mulroney favored closer economic ties with our neighbors to the south, aimed at eroding many of the trade barriers between our two countries. But many Canadians opposed free trade with the U.S., and it was a major issue during the 1988 federal election. The agreement finally came into effect on the first day of January 1989. It became the foundation of the deal, which included Mexico, and became known as NAFTA, which came into existence in 1994. Since last October, events in the Middle East has much of the world on high alert. The war in Israel, the West Bank, and the Gaza Strip has now stretched beyond their borders. And here in Canada, while we're geographically far removed, many citizens of this country are still keeping a close eye on the conflict. We ask Canadians how much of their focus is on that region these days. Our question: how closely are you following the conflict in the Middle East?
I think the humanitarian catastrophe that's unfolding is absolutely horrid. Eventually, the two sides, I think, have to stop fighting and develop a two-state solution. But what I find is also horrible here is seeing our Jewish neighbors fearing for their own safety in our country because of something that's going on somewhere else. These are Canadians; they should feel just as safe as we do.
Well, I am following that. Yeah, I went to a couple of. Do you say it's demonstration? Yeah. So I went to a couple of demonstrations. My heart is breaking for what's happening both in Ukraine and in Middle East. It's not good. War is not good for anyone. No one benefits from it for sure. And well, I just feel sorry for people. I feel sorry for my people as well as I feel sorry for people of other countries who are suffering.
Because you are from Ukraine?
No, not only because of that, because I'm a human. Yeah.
Well, we're following it. Not much we can do about it from over here. Just probably watching, listening, thinking about it.
Just really feeling for those people in the Middle East, like what's going on, yeah.
I mean, I think it's an issue with not only regional but international implications. It's something that people clearly have strong opinions on. I try to follow it just as a concerned citizen. And clearly, as I say, it generates strong opinions, and there are people here who have opinions one way or another, either because they're directly connected to people in the Middle East or members of diaspora communities. So it's simply something you're going to encounter. I don't see how you can avoid it unless you're going to lock yourself in your room.
I can see where Israel had a right to defend themselves, but I'm starting to think it's a little bit of overkill on their part. You got to get Hamas, but you can't be killing all these innocent people and children.
I used to watch it a lot, and I try and stay away from it now. It just stressed me out way too much.
Do you think it's important to know what's on the other side of the world, or?
I think it's important, but I think sometimes it's overwhelming. So I think sometimes we need to take a break.
Not a lot. Not really.
Is there a reason why we're not?
No, there's no real reason why. We don't watch a lot of news on the TV. So anything that I'm following is just whatever I'm reading in the newspaper.
Hope like people dying is either side is terrible. Would wish it could just stop, but I don't know what the answer to ending the violence on both sides is.
Snippets and stuff, discussions here and there with amongst friends and family and such. But typically I know it's a very sensitive topic.
Not extremely closely. I've looked into it a little bit, but have between school and stuff, I haven't been really paying attention too much, but I see what's going on.
A lot more of my friends are following it. I'm trying to stay as neutral as I can, really.
I'd say every day, or at least, yeah, as much as I can handle emotionally to follow it.
You want to expand on that? Like where are you, what source you're using or how you're following it?
It's in every one of my social media feeds, and I I know a lot of people who are really heavily affected by it, and so those people are on my social media, and so I see it every time I open it, and then that has an effect on whether I'm going to open the social media.
I'm moderately, I'd say, but it's not intentional following. It's a little bit of unavoidable exposure, I'd say.
Pretty closely. Yeah, I keep up with it like I don't know about every day, but like a couple times a week at least I'll listen to like a video or something or follow the stories and stuff. Yeah. Try to keep up with it.
Not terribly closely. I'm probably as close as anybody else. I wouldn't say that I'm up to date on it and checking it every minute, but I'm following it enough to know what's going on.
According to a recent report by the Wall Street Journal, Canada's government has been considering a list of foreign grocers to come to Canada to help boost competition and keep prices down. Since the beginning of the pandemic, Canadians have been dealing with high inflation, which has caused them to dig deeper to pay more for everyday food staples. But would bringing in grocers from other countries lower prices for consumers, or would it complicate matters even more? Our question: would luring foreign grocery companies to Canada help increase competition and lower food prices?
No, I don't really think so. I think that with the supply chain and the cost of bringing groceries in and trucking and all that, bringing it from somewhere else might not be the answer. Doing it here might be better. Have some more small grow ops, something like that.
So more local as opposed to looking international?
Even regional, province to province type of thing.
I don't know whether or not, but we buy mostly organic, so that's what we buy. And I doubt very much if you're going to get very many foreign ones that are organic.
It depends on what they're bringing in. It might and it might not. It depends on who's selling what.
Do you think bringing in foreign companies is a good idea to help increase the competition?
I'm not sure.
Yes, for the ones from foreign countries, because right now we have a lot of foreign food, and so for foreign countries, yes, like probably like we already have things from the States and that. So yes, I would say it would help.
I feel like depending on the foreign prices, it could really depend. Because if their food prices are really low, they might go lower, or if their prices are high, it all depends.
I mean, probably. Whether it's going to increase the quality of the food, probably not. But I don't know. I'm more of an organic shopper myself, so I don't know. Yeah.
I would say yes, but at the same time, I would say support locals would also help to decrease prices.
Probably not in the long run, because I don't think we have a large enough market. Even if we successfully lured foreign competition, we might not be able to sustain it in situ. So I'm dubious about that.
Yeah, I think so. I've never actually thought about that, but it's a great idea. And certainly certainly if there's these massive corporations can't compete because they set their prices for huge areas, and
Yeah, I think so. I think anytime you do get new actors in the market, you are going to increase competition by default. And I think kind of based on what you see happening, especially around certain major grocers in Canada, I think that you have seen evidence of price fixing, evidence of, with respect to bread especially, I think it's been the big one. I think if you do bring in competitors, there's a chance for that to go down, and there's a chance that they could just engage in the same behavior. But overall, I think it would improve competition and could potentially bring prices down, especially if you were able to introduce some of the discount grocers that they have in the States, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think overall, probably not a bad idea, especially with the way that our grocers have been kind of acting over the past few years.
I honestly don't think it would lower prices. I think there's still going to be enough fees, and then with carbon tax crap on top of it and everything. I think growing your own is the way to go, kind of thing.
I think so, yeah. Competition is always a great way to lower prices, local food prices, so yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think part of the solution is stop food waste. I just actually was doing some research yesterday. USDA for the states, they're 30 to 40% of the food that's produced is wasted. And here in Canada, staggering figure, almost 60%. So I think that would go a long ways to reducing, maybe not the price of food, but what consumers spend on food.
But what about bringing other grocery companies in from other countries, though? How do you think that would play?
Are they going to sell Canadian food?
I'd be concerned about their quality of food that they're bringing in, because the other countries don't have the standard that we have for our food industries and what they have to meet to grow and stuff. So that would concern me.
It's a difficult question. I have no idea. I think it would depend, on what it is they're actually offering. Are they offering products that will be competing with products that are offered here, or are they products that are not offered here? So I don't know if it's at a lower price or at a competitive price, similar products, then yes, I think it might. Otherwise, no opinion.
Whether there's space for more, I can't honestly say. Food inflation is obviously not just affecting Canada, it's affecting most Western countries, and I think even in around the world. It's a common problem. I don't know that more grocery chains is going to make cabbage cheaper. I mean, we're heavily dependent on California as well. I think that some new technologies, a neighbor in our building who quit high tech moved into agri something or other and is growing fruits or vegetables, at least, out on a farm west of Ottawa. That growing more food is a start.
Well, probably. Yeah, I think competition is good, right? Because there is kind of monopoly when it comes to grocery in Canada. So yeah, I think they should do that.
Of course, any competition is going to make prices lower. For me and a lot of my family and friends, we're all starting to become gardeners. I never thought I'd be a gardener, but I've been growing a lot of our own vegetables and fruits, and that's what everybody needs to do.
Yeah, I could see that happening, but then some other conflict would form over that. Nobody can ever be happy. There's always a problem. But yeah, it would help. I hope so. Let's try it.
Thanks for watching this episode of Outburst on CPAC. If you have any comments about this show or any other show, you can find us on social media. You can also find us on our website at www.cpac.ca. I'm Glenn McGuinness, and on behalf of my colleagues at the Cable Public Affairs Channel, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.